For more on this, I'm joined by Julie Norman. She is a teaching fellow in politics and international relations at UCL in London. Good evening to you. Many thanks for joining us on Euronews tonight. We are still very much in the realms of allegations, but from what we can see right now, is a clear link beginning to be established between payments, these alleged payments that were made, and American or coalition deaths?
Unfortunately, Isabel, there is that link being made by intelligence in the United States and increasingly corroborated by intelligence in the UK as well. So it looks like at least one American death has been linked to this scheme in which essentially Russia was paying significant amounts of money to Taliban fighters to target U.S. service members and their allies.
Given the level of growing attrition between Russia and the US, well, on some respects, of course, because Donald Trump's relationship with Moscow is obviously another issue altogether. But what would Moscow's motivation be here?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So if just looking at Afghanistan itself, Russia, just like the U.S., has had an interest in trying to contain what's seen as Islamic terrorist groups operating there. And so they've been trying to support the Taliban in that. When they saw that the U.S. was going for a peace agreement with the Taliban, Russia was really trying to move into that space and also to really kind of assert themselves and their presence there. It's important to note, though, that there's other things going on as well. And there's some speculation in the intelligence community that this is perhaps a sort of revenge or response to U.S. killing of Russian-backed troops in Syria. So it spills out even beyond Afghanistan. It's hard to say what the exact motivations are, but there's reasons in Afghanistan, reasons regionally, and of course just increasing tension between Russia and the West.
Increasing tensions, indeed. And what about in terms of response? What kind of response can the West give if this intelligence is verified? What can it do?
Well, that's the big question. And of course, that's where a lot of the frustration has been in Washington this week, in that there hasn't been a response yet when it seemed like this intelligence was emerging, or perhaps even some months ago. And it's still being debated, and what the response will be. It could range from just a diplomatic kind of calling out or confrontation. It could result in sanctions. It's really wide open right now. And that's what the intelligence community and policymakers are going to have to be deciding in the upcoming weeks as we look into this more.
Okay, and as we look into this more, now we just mentioned in the introduction that the same group is involved in this alleged plot also were involved in the attempted assassination of Mr. Sergei Skripal and his daughter. What does this tell us now, in some respects, about Moscow's almost asymmetric warfare ambitions?
Yeah, well, Isabel, this is really what the intelligence community is looking at largely now. The unit that's believed to be behind these bounty operation, as you said, is the same one that is presumed to be behind the assassinations in the UK, also behind coup attempts in Montenegro, and really several attempts to destabilize the West, as it were. This is seen as one very specific unit within the military intelligence agency that Russia has, the GRU. And so this is, again, a pretty niche group, but one that is wreaking a lot of havoc. This is really the first time that we've seen them engaging in direct, subsidized killing, essentially, of Americans, of their allies, which is taking things to a new level. And so the intelligence community is really going to be looking to see how they can crack down on this unit.
Okay, well, taking things to a new level. Many thanks for joining us, Julie Norman there from UCL.